Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Mike and I'm very passionate about tabletops, and I'm going to be a better GM, a better player, and a better person, and I want to share with you some of the cool stuff that I've been learning. Today I want to talk to you about home scenes, which is a central phase in the game, Delta Green. Really tell you about how it's made me a better GM overall. Really taught me about pacing and characterization. As I said, it's a phase and structured time in the game rather than a specific mechanic, though it does have specific mechanics associated with it. This is not a video about how to play the game, so if you're looking for instructions, you will not find it here. This is really just to kind of reflect on that particular piece. Before we dive in, I want to credit and shout out Jeff Baker, who will help you with the script for this video. Check him out as my Delta Queen GM, who made me obsessed with home scenes to begin with, and the GM and player and a bunch of other APs I'm doing with adventures in Lollygagging, all linked in my description box below. To give you a brief summary of the game, Delta Green is a modern horror RPG with major themes around like operational security and secrecy, conspiracy around the supernatural, and your life basically falling apart because of all that. It's basically what happens when you mash up the X-Files, True Detective, and The Leftovers, and then sort of explore what happens to the people involved. You play government or civilian specialists who are drawn into an off-the-books task force to try and contain supernatural threats or neutralize them. While you might shoot things sometimes, this isn't really a power fantasy where you kind of cleanly win. Like, you're meant to survive the best you can, be completely traumatized by it, and then sort of pretend to be a normal functioning adult between missions. Being technically alive by medical standards is a win condition in this game. Delta Green fundamentally then is a game about sort of emotional complexity in the face of underlying threats. Like, you are constantly having to decide whether saving the world and keeping it secret is worth the cost of your marriage or being an absentee parent or, your real job finding you kind of unreliable and flaky. Maybe even a bit of a liability. So you can see why it's basically a top 5 game for me. If you're looking for classic heroism or satisfying like power progression, this definitely won't squash that itch. It's just not that kind of game. Delta Green is about damage control and individuals surviving at a cost. Mechanically, it's roll under percentile base. Both your health and mental health get pretty violently assaulted to the point where your home life is a source of tension because you're probably lying to your loved ones about at least part of all this. So ultimately, yes, it's about facing horrors, but it's also about what you bring home afterwards. So what are home scenes exactly? As I said, it's a phase of the game. Dutch Green operates in two phases. There's the mission, which is a fairly straightforward investigation game, with something hinky, probably supernatural, is going on that requires your attention. The vibe is pretty low-tech tradecraft energy, like that's the vibe. Home scenes or when the investigation is over, there are moments that your agent isn't on a mission and it's unlikely to be restful. It's a return to a life that's already fraying at the edges, at least partially because of their involvement with Delta Green. Operationally, they are short roleplay vignettes that take place between missions where agents attempt to patch up their lives, maintain important personal ones, pick up skills, pursue personal goals. There's lots of like mechanics. It's basically a mechanical pursuit wrapped in roleplay, and to me, it's kind of the emotional spine of the game because not only do they show who the agent is and what they are pursuing and what's important to them, they show what they are losing and where the cracks are starting to show. Part of the game that kind of reminds you that the agent is a person and being dissonant emotionally and physically can take a toll, will take a toll. So, how do home scenes work? After each mission, every player picks a personal pursuit to focus on during downtime. Like I said, it's a mechanical pursuit wrapped in roleplay. Each one comes with a role, a risk, and usually a cost. These vignettes occur between missions and they reflect months or even years of time. They are individual scenes, not group ones. Just some quick definitions before we get started. Your bond. A bond is an important personal relationship in your agent's life. Spouses, siblings, kids, friends, mentors, co-workers, basically anyone who kind of grounds them in normal. Mechanically, they can be a buffer against sanity loss during missions to avoid immediate mental damage, but reducing a bond manifests in the relationship being damaged. Second is bond score. This is a numerical value determining the level of the strength of your relationship. When you lose points from the bond score from sanity loss mitigation or something else, you reduce that score permanently. You are damaging the relationship. A bond score of 0 means that relationship is gone. Like they ghost you, they leave, they die, they turn on you. Mechanically and narratively, it's over. Number 3, sanity. Sanity is a core stat that represents your agent's grasp on reality and their psychological stability. You lose sanity when you witness violence or helplessness or, feel important tests. When your sanity drops too low, the agent can suffer a temporary or permanent disorder, including your agent being just retired by death, trauma, or losing all their bonds. Just to sort of give you a sense of averages, average starting sanity is about 50 to 60, and you can lose anything between 1 and 10. Usually, depending on what you are checking, you start with 2 to 4 bonds, and each of them has a bond score of average between 6 and 10. These will all dip during play, and they'll keep dipping unless you invest during home scenes to keep them alive. So that's the what broadly. Let's dive into the how. Ideally, these are led by the player, and the GM serves as a facilitator. I'm not gonna go over like everything in the book, just some like key ones that feel important to talk about here. Number 1, fulfill responsibilities. You're trying to keep together at home and focus on ordinary obligations and relationships. You make a roll to see if the effort pans out. Number two, back to nature. Think off the grid seclusion, minimizing stress and distractions and obligations. Not a family vacation. The agent is alone or mostly alone in a place that isn't demanding. This automatically will reduce your bonds by one while potentially increasing your sanity if you succeed on the roll. Number three, establish a new bond. You're trying to create a new bond, whether that's friendly or romantic or professional, whatever. This new person becomes an essential part of your agent's life. Again, mechanically, the reason to have additional bonds is that they can kind of help you shore up sanity during missions. Roles will determine the success of the attempt. If it works, cool, you've made a connection. But another bond suffers for even the attempt. Time is finite. Number four, go to therapy. This one has a lot of moving parts and can potentially have pretty significant impact. So I'm just gonna summarize by saying this is basically a fairly systematic deconstruction of mental trauma, and it requires honesty and commitment, which might have positive impact on your sanity, but either way, it automatically reduces a bond by one because you aren't meeting up obligations. Number five, improving your stats or your skills. You get an opportunity to boost two separate skills or one stat and a skill. You talk about what you're doing to increase them, and roles will determine the success of the endeavor, but every improvement costs bond score. There is also study the unnatural, which is that the agent spends their vignette, one of their vignettes, studying a forbidden tome, a decryptive flash that's full of data, case reports from a prior operation, that kind of thing. The agent will choose what bond takes a hit as they obsess and kind of sink deeper into some pretty horrific shit. There are others, like I said, but I just want to share a few that kind of I feel really embody that core sort of push pull of Delta going and save the world, but lose the viewer who might make any of it make sense. So players see what the agent is doing, and you roll to see sort of what that choice really does to them. Sometimes it helps, sometimes it cracks something even deeper. But either way, home scenes are the moment to ask, what does this work cost? What are they trying to hold on to? What are they trying to avoid? You roleplay it out, but your choices here affect your mechanics going into the next mission. I live for narrative and roleplay with mechanical impact. I really just love that concept so much. You trying to get better at shooting? That's time you are not spending with your kid. Everything is a trade-off. Everything costs. Like I said before, Delta Green really isn't about monsters, even though there are monsters. It's about the cost of hunting them. And home scenes kind of show that cost. I mentioned earlier that I love them for having taught me, better pacing, specifically for something longer term after missions full of visceral rot and supernatural violence and shattering your sense of reality. I found that home scenes let you kind of give space for the campaign to breathe with priorities on emotionality, characterization, non combat based character growth, and consequences to actually land. Like, sometimes you don't need to give your players plot hooks every few minutes, you just need to kind of give them space. And that contrast is, I think, what makes the tension hit even harder when it does during the missions. So you don't need car chases or shootouts to build drama. Like, sometimes it's just like mistress cycle here or a cold breakfast and an empty dining table there, or your brother texting you that you forgot mom's birthday again. When you do home scenes or anything like this, kind of listen closely because your players are going to tell you exactly where you need to poke for shit to land. Home scenes are not filler. They're the part to me that makes the whole thing stick, and they do it without slowing the game down. A good home scene is tight, it's sharp, it's full of weight and consequences. Yeah, anyway, that is all I have. If you like this video, consider subscribing. But if you don't like notifications or subs, I do have a backlog of stuff. I also have an audio only podcast format, written blog format, if that works better for folks from like an app access perspective. I'm also on a few APs, including the Delta Green one that I mentioned. Links to all that in the description. Otherwise, thank you so much for hanging out. Come see me again soon. Bye.